Hi, today we're going to work through some of the Sketchup project. We're just going to go ahead and launch Sketchup, accept all the defaults and just start using it. And as soon as you open it, you see it's a totally different environment than you're used to. Welcome to the world of 3D modeling if you haven't seen anything like this yet. You'll find that the environment feels a lot like Google Earth in that I can hold my middle mouse button down and orbit. And there's also an orbit tool up here. This is orbiting, and you just circle around. I'm just holding my middle mouse button down and dragging. And you just have to play around and get used to it. It's very like Google Earth. It used to be a Google product. I can pan using the pan tool. Unlike Creative Suite, you'll find that your shortcut keys, I'm afraid, don't work in Google SketchUp except for Control-Z for undo. Okay, the first thing you notice, we've got a little person for scale, a little avatar. We see these three axes, and that's typical for all 3D drafting programs. Red, green, blue, X, Y, and Z for elevation. And that's going to become real important when you start doing more complex drawing. You've got to know where you are in 3D space once you enter this 3D world. Okay, so let's just start bombing some stuff out. I know I always say that you learn software by playing with it. Nowhere is that as true as in SketchUp. You just have to play around with it. It's a very intuitive program. You see the icons are real friendly, and it's just it's got some unique behaviors that you just have to feel. You'll feel it in the mouse. It's kind of hard to describe by looking at it. So before we get started, I'm going to open up a couple of palettes in the Creative Suite parlance. And remember, in Creative Suite, if you didn't know where a tool was, you'd use the window pull down and find it. It's not 100% true in SketchUp. The tools are in different places. The first one we're going to look for is our Layers window. That one is under the window pull down. I'm going to Window, Layers, and that pulls up my Layers palette. Excuse me. So to add a layer, you just click. I'm going to call this Proposed Building. And when you want to make it current, you select it. And to turn a layer off, you deselect the visibility, and so on. Basic layer behavior, as you're already familiar with, although no locking ability. Another toolbar I want to open up right away is the views. Everything we're looking at is sort of a view. It's how you look at your world. And to do this, I'm going to go to the View pull down, Toolbars, and where's Views? Views. Okay, and this opens a toolbar. You see we have some standard views. If we go through them, there's isometric. That's a parallel projection. We have top or plan view, and then some different elevations. So I'm just going to start bombing out some geometry. Let's just see how things draw in here. I'm just going to grab this rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. And you can feel that it wants to snap it to the XY plane. Okay, I can draw a circle. Also, I can feel it snapping. I can draw a freehand shape, anything I want. And if you don't, I just let my mouse up when it got near the point of origin. If you don't do that, you'll end up with just a line. You can also, there's this pencil tool. You can draw a very precise geometry with this. Okay, and then to make 3D shapes out of this, you use this push-pull tool. This is a tool you're going to use a lot. And I'm just going to pick once, hold down my mouse, and drag up or down. And this is, you're making 3D geometry. Oh, look, I drew this one on the wrong plane. Notice how it's extruding in a different direction? I wasn't paying attention to where I was drawing. Okay, so I'm just scroll button out to zoom, and I'm just using the orbit tool. You can also access the orbit tool there, but I use my middle mouse button. All right, and that's how you draw basic shapes in Google Earth. Now, I'm sorry, Google SketchUp. I'm probably going to make that mistake many times by the time we're done. Now, SketchUp doesn't always behave exactly how you think it might or would wish it to, so spend some time playing around and get used to some of the quirks of SketchUp. For example, if I want to draw another box on top of that box, okay, it'll let me do it. But in fact, everything that you draw in SketchUp is merged. So these two shapes have actually become one shape in a way that I find counterintuitive. And I'll show you what I mean in a second, but before I do that, I just want to draw a basic box for comparison. And when you're selecting entities in SketchUp, that's also something that's kind of unique. Each part of this shape can be selected separately, and if I just click once, I haven't selected that whole cube, I've selected only that top face. You see I can select an edge as well. Okay, if I want to select an entire face and an edge, I have to double click. Okay, before I was doing a single click. If I want to select the entire shape, I have to triple click. 1, 2, 3. That's how you select the entire shape. So in my mind, these are two boxes, but you'll see that if I triple click, it selects the entire thing. In fact, they've been merged into one sort of composite shape. I'm going to go ahead and just delete some pieces of this by selecting once. I'm clicking once to select that face, and I'll hit delete. And you see that all these shapes are actually hollow. Okay? And when I created that, I created a void into the box below. I'm going to select delete, select delete, select delete. See what's happened? These are hollow shapes, and it's something that's maybe a little non-intuitive at first, but you'll get used to that after a while. Okay, so that's it. A cube equals a building. So this is how we're going to draw our site, just using some of these primitives. I'm going to select everything with a window. Also, as in Creative Suite, I can triple click. If I want to add to my selection set, I can hold down Shift, triple click, Shift. And notice in this case my cursor is very helpful. You can clearly see the plus or minus. So it's also holding down Shift, as in Creative Suite, to remove entities from your selection set. All right, I'm just going to window everything and hit delete to get rid of everything. So how do we draw our site? Well, we could just bomb it out here, draw a rectangle, and just go ahead and start placing buildings. But Google SketchUp actually works very closely with Google Earth, and it's very easy to pull in a Google Earth image and draw right on an aerial photograph. And to do that, we're going to use this Add Location tool. I'm just going to select that, and it opens up a Google Earth window. I'm going to do the Oak Street site, but of course you can choose any site you want for this. And looks like we're right about here. So once I have it in my window, I'm going to say Select Region. It's my only option, and it's going to make a very nice frame. I do like some of the graphic user interface features on Google SketchUp. This is pretty clear what's happening, the way it grays out the background and whatnot. Once you have the view you like, you grab, and it places it right into your model, which is very convenient. And it's also coordinatized. North is up. X-axis is typically the east-west axis. That's the red axis. Green is the north-south axis. That's the y-axis. So you can see that it's coordinatized, our aerial photograph, and we're in the right place, you might say. Okay, so the next thing I'd want to do is maybe draw my boundary. I should probably make a new layer. Oh, and here's my Google Earth terrain layers, and you can see that's on something called a snapshot layer. I'm going to make a new layer. That's my property line layer. Have that current. Okay, I've got my property line layer current. I'm ready to draw in my boundary. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can just draw a rectangle and eyeball it, but the proper way to do it is to key in the actual dimensions. I'm going to pick that first corner, and instead of picking my other corner, I'm going to type in the values of the dimensions, and that's 250 feet, comma, 375 feet. And notice that's happening in my lower right-hand corner. If I hit enter, it draws it in, and it's for some reason rotated. That's okay. I can rotate, move, and edit geometry any way I want. What I'm going to do now is select that. Remember, I have to double click to select the entire thing, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate that. To rotate something, well, first I'll move it. It's a simpler command. I'm going to invoke the move command. It's the 4 arrows. All you're doing is picking a from point and a to point. You can pick these points anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the geometry. In fact, usually it's better. You can see it more clearly if it's not. So I'm picking my from point, and my 2 point. Okay, I can move this anywhere I want. When you're moving it directly in line with an axis, when you're moving it orthographically or orthogonally, if you will, you can see that I'm getting the axis, and you'll feel this in your mouse. You just have to try it, and it'll snap. Now I'm moving it up, and you can see my blue axis is on my cursor. So I'm just going to move this down a bit, and I need to rotate that as well. Rotate is a 3-click command. So move was 2 points, 2 clicks. Rotate, it's still selected, is a 3-click command. So I've invoked my rotate command. You see I've got a sort of protractor type thing on my cursor. Pick your point of origin, pick your first point of your angle, and pick the second point of your angle. Okay, it's a 3-point, 3-click command for rotate. And that looks pretty good. I can also key in the angle, just like I keyed in my dimensions, and I'll do that. I'll just do a straight 90 degrees and enter. Now it's rotated at perfectly 90 degrees. I'm going to move this one more time from to. I'm going to scooch it right where I think it belongs. My guess is it wants to be on that natural feature. Oftentimes you can see natural features that tell you where your property is. It's usually back of walk in the city. So that's pretty close. And actually, I estimated these dimensions anyway, so that's far close enough. Okay, now remember that behavior of Google Earth, of Google SketchUp, where it wants to merge objects together? If I start drawing my buildings on this boundary, it's going to merge them with the boundary, and that's kind of annoying. I don't really want that. I want my buildings to be separate from the boundary. So one thing we can do, I'm going to select my boundary shape. In this case, I did a window. I'm going to right-click on it, and I can make a component. If I make a component, it's kind of like making a symbol in Illustrator. This becomes a discrete and separate entity, and now I can draw on top of it, and I have no fear of editing it. Okay, and it looks the same. Nothing's changed, but it is actually a separate component now. All right, so here's my site. I can just go ahead and start bombing in buildings. I've got one building there. I've got one building there. I've got one building there. One building there. My site is crappy. Yours will be good. And I draw my building footprints, and I just extrude them. Oh, you can also, if you know your building height, you pick once, and you can key in the dimension. See my dimension in the lower right-hand corner. Can also take a value. So maybe this building is 1,000 feet, and it'll take the dimension as well. All right, so there's my beautiful site. It looks perfectly appropriate for this location, I think. And at this point, maybe I'll start thinking about my scenes. I've got 6 scenes to do, right? Or views, as I've been calling them. Oh, I slipped up. In SketchUp, they're known actually as scenes instead of views. I'm going to open another toolbar, and that's going to be Windows, Scenes. All right, and you can see now I have no saved scenes, but I can make a scene and then add it to my toolbar. And one thing I'm going to do is turn off everything that I'm not interested in. Oh, what do you know? Also, I drew all my buildings on the wrong layer. Wouldn't you know? I'm going to select my buildings, triple click, shift, triple click, shift, triple click, shift, triple click. All my buildings are selected. Right click on that. Look at the entity info. If you draw something on the wrong layer, you want to put it on the right layer. It's entity info. Here it tells me my layer is PL. I'm going to change that layer value to P building. Okay. Did it work? I never trust it. Let's test it. Yep, sure enough. Looks good. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my Google Earth aerial, and I'm just going to focus on my geometry here. I think 1,000 feet might be just a little too much. I'm going to downsize that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so scenes. I'm going to create scenes based on the assignment. So one of them I know I need is a plan view, and that's a top view. Now this is a top view, but I'm also still seeing perspective. There's 2 ways of looking at geometry in SketchUp. If I go to my camera pull down, you can see I have perspective selected. But several of the views that we're talking about, like elevation, plan, axonometric, are actually parallel projection views. So watch what happens when I select parallel projection. That's a site plan. That looks like what we did in Illustrator, okay? It's an abstraction of a view. It's not what you would actually see if you were floating above the site. Once I have the view I want, I'm just going to click the plus arrow, and it's going to save the view. If I should be able to rename this, rename scene, and this is my plan view. Okay, what's another view I need? I'm just going to get whatever view I want. In this case, I want, maybe I'm going to do my axonometric. I know we talked about 45, but just use the isometric, which is 30 degrees. That's perfectly fine for what we're doing. I'm going to get this view the way I want it, and then I'm going to save it to a scene. And this is my axonometric, isometric. Isometric is actually a form of axonometric projection. The other ones are diametric and something else I forget. Anyway, while I'm here, I can maybe see the difference between axonometric and true perspective. If I go to my camera pull down, remember it's going to be either parallel projection or perspective. The default is perspective. I'm going to change that to perspective, and notice how my view changes. Okay, the perspective. The highlight of perspective is that the lines merge as they go into the distance. Funny enough, there's actually something called two-point perspective, which sort of warps it even more. So a two-point perspective is actually a warping of proper perspective. So we're going to go ahead and just use, from the camera pull down, perspective, true perspective. Two-point perspective is a construct that we use when we're drawing, but Sketchup is even more sophisticated than that. It'll give us an actual sort of multi-point true perspective. Okay, so there it is, another view. I'm going to save that, and this is my two-point aerial perspective. And so on until you have all your views saved. Well, my site's looking a little schematic. There's lots of ways you can dress it up very easily. The most common way maybe is by using ready-made assets from the 3D warehouse. So we're going to look in the 3D warehouse and try and find some assets. Maybe I'll just, to play it safe, make a new layer and call this miscellaneous assets. With any luck, it'll come in on this layer. Now this is just stuff made by other people, so there's no guarantee as to what it's going to be. I've found that it's usually pretty good, and they're rated and stuff, and this is the easy way to do it. It'll load it right into your SketchUp model. I mean, what's easier than that? Okay, and you got a pretty respectable tree. Not too shabby for 5 seconds of work, you know, fully 3D modeled. And remember, it's a sketch. Okay, so it's just that. So you can find any kind of assets you want. My gosh, it's limitless. People 2D. I'm just going to search for people. City 3D. And we have this sort of over-sexualized woman again. I'm just going to load this directly in. And there we go. Okay, so super easy, and you're probably thinking, why did we waste all that time in Photoshop having to draw all this and blah, blah, blah. That's because you learned how to do it in Photoshop. So there we go. So mine's crappy and not enough stuff. Yours will be great, and but that's how you dress up your site. Okay, and let's see, did the layering work? Oh, what do you know? It actually worked. So now I'm going to save this out, views to make a poster out of. Okay, so I'll try leaving on my assets and see what that looks like. But I am going to turn off the Google Earth snapshot because I don't think that helps anything. Oh, by the way, another thing that really makes this is if you add existing buildings for context. Okay, I drew 3 buildings quickly, but what you really want is adjacent buildings. Maybe in a different color or something to really give your model some context. Anyway, one step at a time. So I'm ready to export my views. Let's say I've done my site, I've added some existing buildings, I'm ready to export my views. All this is going to do is take almost like a screen grab of your photo. I'm going to turn off the snapshot, and I can notice when I made a new scene, it made a new tab. If I select the tab, it's going to take me to plan view. Okay, and it knows to switch from parallel projection to perspective. If I go to axonometric, it takes me to axonometric, aerial, and so on. You can also double click in the scenes box. Okay, so I'm ready to export my scenes as views. I'm just going to go to the file pull down, file export, 2D graphic, and it's going to export to a JPEG file. And do take some time to set up a project directory. I'm horrified by what I see at some of these, some of how you guys treat your files on desktops and flash drives and just all over the place. So this is plan view, and I'm going to export that. I'll do one more axonometric. Double click to restore that scene, and then simply go to File, Export, 2D Graphic, Plan View. This is axonometric, and so on until you get all your required scenes. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and launch Illustrator, and I'm going to throw together a poster quickly. And the poster design is somewhat of a whole separate topic that I don't really want to get into at this point, but take a stab at it, and we'll start getting into the subject once we do the critique of the posters. Control N for new, and I want this to be, I'm going to use inches, and it's going to be custom size. I want it 24 inches by 36 inches. I'm doing mine portrait, doesn't have to be. Okay, so here's my poster. Try and think about the grid as an organizing principle that we just learned about. So I'd like to use a grid. There's a couple of ways of doing it. You can just go to the view pull down and show grid. You can use the actual grid paper like that. But a better way to do it, or a more refined way to do it, is to actually draw a grid on there and use that grid as an organizing principle. So I'm going to look for my, where's my layers box? Here it is. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call this grid, and I'm going to make my own custom grid and use that as an organizing principle. It's very easy to make a grid in Illustrator. You just start with a rectangle. I'm leaving space at the top and bottom for my title and identity. And so here's my grid. It's cyan, it's 2 points, and there it is. With it selected, go to the object pull down, path, and split into grid. It's that easy. And here you can define, I want mine to be 4 columns by 6 rows. If I preview, it's showing me exactly what's there. Gutter, I want to be, let's say, 1/4 of an inch, both in columns and rows. Gutter is the space between rows or columns, and that's starting to look like something. Maybe I want a 1/2 inch gutter. I don't want to crowd the margins ever, even margins within margins. And okay, total, I wonder if I can edit this now. Can I make that a round number? 28. Oh, I can. That's nice. So it's allowing me to, actually, I don't know what that's doing. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, and there it is. Here's my grid. All right, pretty cute. I'm going to go ahead and center it on my page. I know that wants to be 12 if it's 24, and I'm not sure where it wants to be, up or down. I'm just using my arrow to eyeball that. I'm just going to accept that for now. So I want to fit my images sort of into this grid, and let's see. I'm going to have another. Sorry, this is just going to be my text layer. I'm just going to throw together a poster just quickly. Don't beat it to death. All right, this is going to be Oak Street Development. I don't know what I'm writing. While we're doing this, I want you to get used to using these sizes of fonts that maybe you haven't seen yet. Okay, 72 point. What does that mean? How does it look? What does it print out as? Okay, so get used to that. And okay, so I'm going to start bringing in my images. I'm going to make a new layer. Images, okay. I'm going to lock that grid so I'm not accidentally moving it all over the place. I'm just going to go to File, Place. Okay, there's my one image. Place. Which one did I place? Axonometric. Lab view. Okay, so I've got my two images. What am I going to use? Almost certainly clipping mask, right? Let's say I want my plan view. So here's where the art of it comes in. Take some time making a poster. I'm going to say this one wants to take up 4 spaces on the grid. Okay, so that's the size. I drew a rectangle that's 4 spaces. Select both entities, make clipping mask. Okay, this is old stuff for us. So here's how I use the grid as an organizing principle. Maybe this one, maybe my site plan is very important. I'm going to have it take up 6 modules on my grid. Okay, there's my shape. Select them both, make clipping mask. Okay, go to isolation mode. Stretch this out. You know I don't advise stretching images in this manner, but what can you do? Sometimes you got to do it. All right, so maybe this is my Control-0, zoom to extents. All right, so in this manner you can use, I don't know what I'm just starting some stuff. I'm just laying out some ideas. I don't know where it's all going to go, and I've got more images to put down, but you get the idea. I'm gonna have a nicely organized poster. Do I need some text? I probably do need some text. So maybe this is going to be, my. If you just have a placeholder text for now, that's fine. Just try and schematically lay out a poster. That's just might be something like you bring into, for discussion. Whatever you can do, just make something happen. Don't be so sweating about the assignment and this and that. The assignment's a poster, so just make it happen, okay? I can use the e pluribus unum text, whatever you want. Just say, here's where the text would go. This refers to that. This refers to this. I'm still using my grid, and lay something out. Something you can throw up on the wall and talk about, okay? Don't get so hung up on the assignment. And here it is. So I did this in 2 minutes. If you have something to say about your site, sure, type it in, but don't worry about it. We're looking for layout. We're looking for, sketch quality type poster. This could be your identity, your logo, of course. Everything's got a logo now. Nothing has the name scrawled on the back. So see what you can do as far as laying out a poster. Something we're going to throw up on the wall and just talk about, okay? And for the next assignment, we're going to take all these images to the next level a little bit. And this is how you quickly communicate some ideas about a site. Okay, so when you're done with your Illustrator layout, you're going to save it to a PDF. First, I'm saving it as an Illustrator file. I believe you have to do that first anyway. A couple of ways you can do it. I'm partial to, you can save a copy as a PDF. I'm partial for this type of work to just printing it to a PDF. I like the cute PDF printer. That's a free download you can find, but most computers have some sort of PDF printer on them these days. If you have trouble with this, send me an email. This is too detailed to be getting into in the video. And let's see. So we're going to change the size. It's going to be a custom size. There it is. Cute PDF, and good to go. Print. Saying where does it want me to save it to? Oak Street PDF, and please call it your name, not the assignment name or some combination thereof. And And here it is. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, Oak Street PDF, 175 KB, all right? 175 kilobytes, that's what we're looking for. Don't send me 40, 50 meg PDFs, all right? That's all there is to it. This is the bare bones of the project. Mine is crappy, yours will be good, of course, and it's a way of you telling us something quickly about your site. You can see here how much this would be helped by additional context, right? Oh, one last thing. There's one more image, right? Image 6. How do we do that one? So it's possible to actually look at our model in Google Earth. I'm going to go back to perspective because that axonometric kind of freaks you out. Where is it? Here. Preview model in Google Earth. By clicking that, you should launch Google Earth, and it should go straight to your site, and your site should now contain your new model, all right? And how cool is that? For free, it's a miracle. Okay, so I'm going to export an image out of here, and did I ask for 2 images? I don't remember. Whatever it is, show your best work out of here, and of course you're going to want 3D buildings on, right? That makes it. And it shows your site in context. How do I want to show mine? I guess I want the skyline in the background. Something like that, maybe. 2-point aerial, I think, is what I asked for. So, all right, something like that. Again, this is quick and dirty. Okay, but does it show the massing of the site and how it fits into the context? You bet it does. I'm going to go ahead and say File, Save, Save Image, and this is just writing out, just like you've done before out of Google Earth, just like you save an aerial photograph. And I'm going to save this to the same place as my other images, and this is Google Aerial. Save. I can go back to my poster. Definitely want to place this one. This is the most exciting one, right? All right. This might need to get a place of prominence, or not. Sometimes maybe you downplay this, your best work. Can I fit this into my grid? I can. Yeah. Move my grid layer to the top. Unlock it, select it all, get rid of the fill, lock it back up, make my images layer current. I'm going to draw my rectangle for a clipping mask, and I'm being very sloppy here, but you will be very neat. Okay, there it is. And how do I want to view? What's my best view option here? Maybe it's not the best view, okay, but it's the view I have. Maybe I want a little more skyline in it, but there you go. Okay, it could be a nice board. Double click to get out of isolation mode, and here's what we're looking at. All right, 20-minute job here. If you spend a little more time, you get a lot. But don't beat this to death. This is a sketch poster. We're going to print it on ink saver mode, and we don't want such detailed images because our plan is not so detailed. Don't apply a level of precision and finish that doesn't really exist in the real world. Okay, sketch poster for our sketch site plan.